When you go to the page, does it say you could do stars? So,
The one that on the page? Or love me
you love me, I see. You open it. You can come on the bottom. Like where you comment, it does say stars. She's told me.
The door on
Blessing. Blessings, blessings, blessings.
They said a tree fell down in the middle of the street.
Who is serious? Blessings to those of you who are already on, to those who signed on and signed back out. We thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of our Wednesday night chats. It's not our intention to be long at all tonight. Last week we had a beautiful discussion, and my bestie was a part of that. And we talked about panic attacks versus blessings, apostle. Panic attacks versus anxiety. I texted your wife the other day. I ain't getting no response yet. Last week, the discussion was awesome. It was very, I would have to say timely because of the responses that we were getting, because of those who um, chimed in on the discussion. It turned out to be a very fruitful conversation on last week. There was a lot to be said about a panic attack versus an anxiety attack versus a full-blown seizure. You know, all three have similar symptoms, or symptoms that occur just before getting to that point. And so you'd be surprised at how many people in your life are dealing with these things. And in talking to those who conversated with us on last night, blessings, Bishop Rollinson. For those who conversated with us on last week, we want to say thank you, because there were others on here who had either experienced it and didn't realize that that's what they were dealing with. And then there are others who have experienced it and it led to further complications, as in heart attack. Bless you, sir. Can you see?
Yes. They probably can't see me.
Trying to get my bestie in this picture.
Sorry,
It's okay. And so we were talking about panic attacks and anxiety, getting help removing the triggers. He said, "Bless you, Apostle Wyatt."
Blessings. Sorry, guys, I can't see.
Bishop
Blessings
Robinson
to everybody
from the South.
from the South Carolinas.
And so, in talking to you all on last week, trying to conversate with you all until my bestie got back in the house, but understanding that it's not something to take lightly. If you have anxiety attacks, if you have anxiety, um, and even seizures, they're just not something that you can. Oh, you just had another seizure today. It's not something that you want to take lightly, because it can definitely cost you your life. An asthma attack can cost you your life, and we found it to be ever present just within the last 2 weeks, and people not thinking that it's as serious as it is. And then we come to a point where death has already now crept in. And so we don't want to find ourselves there. We want to keep ourselves alert. We want to keep ourselves educated. And we never want to think we have more time. Like, all right, well, if it just keep on, then I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. Or you feel like, for me, like the bottom is just falling from behind, under you, and there's no way to catch it. It's just there, and it's just a crazy. You have to be in it to understand what it actually feels like and what it takes you through, and the heart palpitations and the shortness of breath and all of the sweats, all of those things that go along with any of those three things. Blessings, Apostle Trollinger. Hey, Tati. Dealing with blessings, Jihad, panic attacks and anxiety and seizures, knowing those who are among you. The Bible says, know them that labor among you. And a lot of people only take it for the Bible, but I think it's imperative that you know about who's in your corner, know about who's in your circle, know about who's in your church, know about who's on your job. Aww. She says, I smiled when he saw me.
Only her. He didn't smile when he saw me.
Because they can take your life at any moment. And so last week, as we were conversating, and there were those of you, blessings, woman of God, Apostle Trollinger said, blessings.
Blessings, everyone.
Talking about that on last week. And we were like, well, should we continue the conversation this week? Well, it would be up to you if you have more to say. Perhaps some of you went back and reviewed the video from last week and saw all of the comments, and those who are actually in the church and living with anxiety, living with PTSD, hey, Ro, ashamed and or afraid to say so because they don't want people looking at them any old kind of way because they have a diagnosis. And, you should not be ashamed of what you have. It is a part of who you are. And that's the whole thing about learning to love the me that you see. It's learning to love all of you, the parts that you don't like, the parts that you are, hey, Pastor, the parts, Shanae, the parts that Pastor, you are ashamed of. Some of us are deal with guilt about things that we've endured, guilt about how long we allowed it to last. Or so you would make it seem like you had the power to stop it when you didn't really have that, ability, because of what was said, because of what was demanded, what was promised would happen if, and you just don't want to cause harm to anyone else. And so you stay in different situations and you allow things to happen to you for years after year after year because you think that you're protecting those around you when this person is just allowing you to be, manipulated, for as long as it was. And some people feel guilty. You have those who talk to us and they feel guilty about the fact that they allowed it to go on for so long, and so as a result of that, they deal with anxiety. They have these panic attacks when it seems like someone is getting as close, or if it sounds like someone's conversation is leaning toward what you've heard before. And although everything similar is not the same, it doesn't change the fact that it triggers you. and it causes you to have anxiety attacks, and it causes you to have panic attacks. And hey, Tori, and it causes, and for those of us, who don't have someone right there with you at these times that it happened, it's very dangerous because some people never come out of that. Some people lose their life to these kinds of things because shortness of breath is attached to it. All kinds of pains go along with that. And so here we are in church, especially those of us who are leaders, who feel that we're supposed to be there for the saints. And we're supposed to always be there to pray folk through, and we're supposed to always be there to counsel. But we have to understand that we are human too, and we cannot afford to try to help somebody else get delivered from something that we're still ashamed of. It has happened to us in our lives, and we've lived this long, without messing with it. So why bother it now? That's what people say. Well, I've lived with it this long. I ain't had to talk about it before now. So why bring it up now? Because somebody out there who grew up in the same era as we did, where we didn't get explanations, we just got Jesus to fix it. Let's pray. You need to let somebody know, hey, I was there, and I'm witness. Bless you, bless you. I was there, and I can tell you that it almost took my life, but here I am today. It didn't. I'm here. I made it through. I got through it. God blessed me. God kept me, even though it looked like nobody was there. Most times when you're at that point, I don't care how many times people say, I'm here for you. That's not what you feel. That's not what you hear, because you're just tired and weary from going through it all. But panic attacks and anxiety, no joke.
And if I can jump in here.
Look at my best teammate for me. Sidebar.
It says she is strong. She moved it so fast. She is strong. I had to make sure that she knew that she was strong. A lot of times we negate the fact that these things are going on in the church. I come to find out that we're good with hiding behind prophecy. We're good with hiding behind preaching. We're good with telling people how to live right, what they should and should not do. But the church is very limited on talking about anxiety, depression, homosexuality, loneliness, low
Abandonment.
self-esteem, abandonment. All of these things that we face are real, and it's in the church. And we need to take time to educate our community. I tell the church all the time, I've been saying it since Apostle started Loving the Me I See. If you are on medication, it is nothing to be ashamed about. Take your medication. If the truth be told, some of us need medication and don't even know we need it. We're suffering in silence, and we don't have to. We're embarrassed about what we're going through. We're ashamed to say that I'm an apostle in the Lord church and I suffer with these issues. I suffer with depression. Depression in the black church is taking over. And as we continue to talk about anxiety, I was thinking today on depression. And depression causes you to have loss of appetite. Depression causes you to not want to be bothered with others. And for those of us that are in marriages, depression causes your sex life to
Dwindle. You said
dwindle. It causes you not to want to be bothered with your children. It causes you not to want to be bothered with your friends. All of this stuff, for some of us, when we get depressed, we eat a lot. Some of us, we don't have appetites. Some of us don't take showers. When in my earlier years, when I went through my divorce, I didn't want to get out the bed. I stayed in the bed. I didn't want to shower. I have the other one with the butterflies somewhere. I didn't want to shower, and Apostle had to force me to get up. These are real life situations that need to be addressed in the church. Shouting is good, speaking in tongue is good, but at the end of the day, when you go home and you by yourself, how are you dealing with these issues?
Hey, Melissa.
And how are you dealing with the cares of life that is overtaking us? So depression needs to be dealt with. All of these abandonment issues need to be dealt with. It is so much that we could say And this is, I thank God for this forum, because we're not getting up here prophesying, asking you to give us money and prophesy you. I can prophesy to each and every one of you, but that's not what we're here for. We're here because we chose to help somebody live. And that's what,
Loving the Me I See
yes.
is all about. And you know, a lot of people would say more or admit to more if they weren't always made to feel bad. There are those that make you feel bad about being saved and still talking about seeking help from a therapist. You know, oh, well, what happened to your faith? Where's your faith in God? Are you not a believer? Sure am, but Luke was a physician. Therefore, since he was amongst those who were able to provide some sort of healing, I think that you should utilize those that God has put on this earth to do that. You know, I used to be a victim of that. You know, I allowed what others thought to keep me from doing a lot of things. Uh, a little too late, you know, that I came into this freedom of I don't have to be here anymore. It didn't just happen overnight for me. Like I tell people all the time, especially my young people, when I'm trying to help them understand that we really have been there and done that. We're not just telling you because the Bible says, we're telling you because we have really lived through these things. And because God has allowed us to live through these things, we're supposed to use that information and use that knowledge and help somebody else get out. My desire is that I would be able to share enough with you to help you not deal with it as long as we did. Bless you, Pastor. As long as we did, you know, in our era, as we were coming up, like I say all the time, you know, we didn't get to talk about it like we are now. We didn't even get to mention it outside of our house because we was told what happened in my house stays in my house. And if I hear it outside the house, this is what's going to happen to you, and this is what's going to happen to you. And then, you know, there were those who would teach us a new definition of love in the way that they touched us and felt us. And even though it felt uncomfortable to us, we were told that that's what love really is. And if you love me, you'll really do this. And so you didn't really have that ability to just speak out because one, back in that day, if it was an adult versus a child, the adult's word always won. You know, they didn't go against it. If the adult said it didn't happen, then it didn't. And so a lot of us, self-included, like I said, a lot of us went many years without being able to voice things. And so these anxiety attacks and these panic attacks, you know, these stress, you know, hyperventilating and things like that because of the things that we're enduring, and we don't have the ability to talk or the freedom to talk about it back then. And so now here we are, these adults who still haven't gotten used to the fact of not being a child, because here we are being a child now because those years were taken away from us. And so we have anxiety and we have, panic attacks, uh, just trying to live with it. I say all the time, I talk to the young people and I say to those of you who have been on here with Loving Me, the Me I See, you've become a walking cemetery, a living cemetery. You, the person who's waking up every morning, you're getting dressed with everything that you've endured. When you get ready to go to bed at night, you take it off with your clothes and lay it and do whatever you need to do until the night is end, and we get up in the morning and we put depression back on, and we put loneliness back on, and we put low self-esteem back on, and we walk around with these things. We are a walking, living cemetery, carrying these dead weights around with us that we need freedom from. But nobody, Pastor Tracy, nobody is getting. Where's the sensitivity of the church? What happened to the discernment? Where did it go? We couldn't walk in the church any kind of way, and we couldn't walk in the church feeling like the mothers would catch you at the door, you know. And so we want to allow you that forum, Haiti, or the ability to know that there's somebody out here who says, hey, I see you, I hear you. Blessings, Bishop. um we are here and we see you. You're real. It exists. And what you're going through, we don't take light. Again, between the two of us, we've experienced rape, molestation, abandonment, rejection, uh, just so many things, and this is what drew us together because we had so many things we had experienced, and yet we wanted other people to be free. We wanted other people to know that they didn't have to die in this situation. And so you got people who are having anxiety attacks, asthma attacks, and dying because there was nobody that they felt they could relieve, what they were going to. So they didn't know who to vent to. It used to be the church, but now you can't because you go to the church and the church is exposing you. And when I say the church, I'm not talking about the four walls. I'm talking about the people in which you confide in, that you're hoping for them to help you through something, but instead they become a part of what you're going through. Pastor Shanae says, when my son passed away, I started talking to a therapist, and that was the best thing I could have ever did. And we just didn't talk about my son. We talk about everything. And it's needed because a lot of things I thought I was over, I learned that I wasn't. So she helped me heal through it. And I'm grateful for the therapist. Pastor, that same thing. Let me tell you, I'm sorry. That same thing happened for me. And just in the last couple of years, and when I first went to the therapist, I didn't want to go because in my mind that meant you were crazy for years, and then I found out that going to a therapist actually helps you from going crazy, and so being able to talk to someone who has absolutely no clue about who you are, no condemnation, just able to sit there and listen to you and hear what you have to say and allow you to speak and allow you to feel without condemnation, without making you feel bad because you're an adult, or without making you feel bad because, oh my God, Sister ACC, making you feel bad about going through what you're going through. They sit and they listen, and then when you're ready, then they speak. They don't stop you in the middle of it. They allow you to go through. In the first 30 minutes, I went through a whole box of tissue. Things that I really thought that I had gotten over, and I found out that I didn't. What I did was just suppress it so that I could just keep moving. And that's why I can identify when I tell you some of us are walking, living cemeteries because we are carrying around the things from our childhood, and it is not allowing the adult or that great person that we should be to manifest as quickly as we would like, because we're too busy now trying to be the child we never got to be. I got many all over my room. Many go with me everywhere I go, some form of many, but it's just like when you finally get that freedom and the ability to talk, Apostle Styles, how are you? When you get that ability to just say who you are without somebody making you feel like, how can you be here at this age? Why would you, and that freedom that it gave me is something I've been wanting to share with everybody. I come and I talk to my bestie about it, try to get her to do this. She tried it. But you have to be ready to face, what you're going through. And that is something that a lot of people are not ready to do. Face, it, because for so long, the apostle said, bless his daughter.
Hey, Dad.
We've carried it for so long that it's just become a regular pair of our undergarments.
Can I jump in?
Get up, get down, wake up, lay down. It goes with us because we never deal with what's really wrong.
I just wanted to jump in here and say this. I'm finding out, I tell everybody in the church, therapy works. But for whatever issue, not just for mental issues, but it helps you find you. We are not licensed therapists, but we can help you get through what you are going
Bible
through.
based.
But you need a licensed therapist, somebody that can walk and talk you through what you're going through. And for years, we were taught you go to your leaders, you discuss it with your leaders.
We still say go to your leader.
We encourage you to go to your leader, but you need somebody
Seek outside therapy too
of your leaders that can help you get over what you're going through. A lot of things that we're going through for years, we have took it out on
Styles.
We took it out on our family, we took it out on our loved ones, and we did not understand at the time that we needed therapy. Now, let me pause to say this. Know the difference when needing therapy and when needing a doctor. I said that to say this. For a long time, Apostle and my daughter were going through a lot of issues. And for a minute, they were making them feel like their issues were in their mind, like what they were feeling, or people would look at, especially my daughter, because of her age, and be like, oh, it's just in her mind. She's only 21 years old. She can't be going through all of this stuff. And me and Apostle say it all the time. Apostle don't have much bone in her back. She's going through a lot of things in her body, arthritis and all of that stuff. And people will make you think that you're crazy. So for a long time, that's what people were saying about my daughter. And come to find out, she has lupus along with other issues because it took them so long to diagnose what was
What I
going
already
on.
said 3
So
years
she
ago.
was going through to a therapist, but a therapist could not help her
Apostle
pain.
Speaks. Love you.
The therapist could not help her pain. She was having real pain
Pastor
issues.
Johnson.
Hello, everybody. And they kept saying, oh, it's in your mind. Oh, you're going because you went through so much in your body, at a young age, so many things happened to you. And they try to like brush you under the rug. So I said that to say this. Don't make nobody let you feel less than what you are because you are going through issues. Whatever it is, whether it's a doctor or a therapist, seek help, guys. It's okay. I finally got my bestie after all these years to even go see a doctor. She do not like doctors, y'all. She did not, but whatever it takes to get you healed, do it. Go. So that's why I am grateful for this time, because a lot of people are suffering with panic attacks. A lot of people are going through emotionally. People have lost loved ones, like Pastor Dixon said, and we don't know how to handle it. If it took Apostle a long time to cry when her mother passed, and I had to let her know, you're human. It's okay to feel. It's okay to cry. It's okay to let these things out, because we internalize all of this stuff, and then later on it comes out in our bodies. We take it out on our mates. We take it out on our children. So it's okay to seek help. It really is.
It really
Those
is.
emotions.
It helped a whole lot. Blessings, Shay. People feel like we did another series on the fact that death is not just in the grave. When you lose your man, when you lose your woman, when you lose your job, you still grieve it just like it, is an actual death, because it's something that you had, something that you got accustomed to, something that became a part of you. And then now here it is, just all of a sudden gone. And now you have to deal with that fact. So grief is not only associated with going in the grave. It is any loss that you suffer and you go through. You have moments of rage, you have moments of anger. There's so many emotions that go along with these things. What we want to keep saying is that you want to try to do whatever it takes to relieve yourself of that, because the more you hold in, the more you mess with your body. Each emotion that you're dealing with affects different organs in your body. Overseer Designate, how are you? When you're feeling these things. And so here I am at this time in my life where the doctors are looking at me and saying, you really shouldn't be here at this age. Because normally it doesn't start. And I'm like, finally I had to say to them, I said, I understand what your books say, but obviously I'm sitting here dealing with it. So I'm going against the book. So can we now deal with what's going on? And you have to be ready to. I've been trying, sir, your socks is almost a year old. Stop. Let me know when you really want them. And so you have to take charge of you. Stop letting doctors make you feel like you're not going through what you're experiencing, and then don't let others make you feel like it's too much. It got to the point where, like, I never would say anything. I just have a high tolerance for pain, so very few people can tell when I'm really in pain. Every day of my life I am. The question is, what level am I? Because I have different things
other page, baby
that's
girl.
going on. Who? Ma, you're on the wrong page. And so we want you to understand that, Tamara, oh, there it is. When you, from like Apostle was saying that, I didn't cry. Well, when my mother passed, and we just made 2 years now, but when my mother passed, I didn't have the opportunity to be daughter. I didn't have that opportunity. I had to be the apostle. I had to be the comfort and console for my children, for their children. I had to make arrangements. I had to put things together. I had to, I never just got a chance to be her daughter. Had the blessed privileges to eulogize my mom, but still, even in that, no tears. I never cried. My mother died March. She passed March 13th. We had her services March 27th, right? I didn't cry until Mother's Day, and I lost it.
Y'all see this cup again?
Station identification. Get yours. She is strong. $25, guys. Vacuum, cold and hot. You can get a butterfly on it too. Station identification. These pay for our messages, Sap. No, and so I didn't cry until Mother's Day, and when I did, it was just, I felt like I was ready to go with her. It was like all of a sudden I went to go pick up the phone to call my mother and say Happy Mother's Day, and that's when it hit. So things that we go through and we hold on to can really, before we realize it, can take us out of here. So we can't die in silence. We can't die slow deaths. We've got to learn how to deal with everything that we faced. We can't use that anymore and say, oh, well, I can't do that because when I was a child, you doggone 50 years old. Come on now. We got to get to the point where we can look at what we've gone through, acknowledge the emotions that attach to that, and then move toward the healing process. Yes, we're going to always say, talk to your leaders. Maybe everybody doesn't have the type of leaders that we are. Our doors open. We can talk about any and everything. We are raw. Sometimes my kids can't handle how raw I really am. But, you do that and then still seek help. Some pastors are licensed therapists, so you get a double duty. But for those who are not, there's nothing wrong with seeking therapeutic help. It keeps you from going crazy. It doesn't mean that you are crazy. It is what is used to keep you from reaching that aspect. And you could never begin to love the me that you see if you don't know who you are yet. You've got to get in touch with all of those things that messed you up. You got to get in touch with those feelings and confront them. It might blow your mind because when I first I'll use my divorce. When I first got divorced, I didn't really think that it bothered me the way that it did. But it wasn't until I asked God to heal. And like I say to people all the time, like I say, I'm all right, Ma. I say to people all the time, if you want God to do something, make sure your mind and your heart are saying the same thing. They got to be with one accord. God's not going to come in there in the midst of the war. He's going to come when you are ready, both your mind and your heart together with one accord are saying the same thing. Therefore, you get results. And so when I asked God to heal me from that, and I did not know that it was just going to come with feelings of rage and abandonment and anger, it just like overwhelmed me, but that's how I knew that I was in the healing process, because now I was allowing myself to feel not deal with all of them at one time, one at a time, but dealing with them all so that I could be made whole. And I suggest that to anybody. Tamara, my dad died because they thought he had arthritis, but he had cancer. Jesus, today. They took an x-ray and never looked at it. We saw that same x-ray 6 years later and cancer was present. The doctors at the Virginia hospital shrugged it off. It was stage 4 by the time they caught it.
That's what these doctors do. They are so it's horrible the way that they just shove you off. And if you go to the hospital more than 3 times, they don't pay you no attention because they say, oh, you was just here. Okay, I was just here, but now my situation is worse than what it was when I was here the first time. So you need to see me. But these doctors and stuff, that's just crazy.
I'm telling you, why would you say in your discharge summary, if it gets worse, come back. Right. And then when I come back, you say, but you was just here.
Right.
Ooh. The Veterans Hospital. I know somebody else who had a bad way from that too, sis. And I'm sorry that happened for you. And we pray for you even now, because uh, it's still hurtful when you talk about it. It's not the same sting as when it first happened, but at least I can talk about it now. I say to people, when you can talk about it without the tears, when you can see your offender in public and not be angry and not want to go in the opposite direction, that is signs of letting you know that healing is in the process. You might not be all the way there yet, but it can happen for you, and you should allow it. A lot of us hold on to things that happened to us in our younger years is because it gives us the boldness to stand up to people now, because that wall just does not allow people to get but so close to you, and then when they do, you back them up off of you. But what happens when you no longer have that? God has healed you from that. And so we don't have to use it as a crutch for why we are doing the things, because when you don't deal with your emotions, the anger, the anxiety, all of that stuff like that, it is what's answering people when things happen. Somebody says something and you lash out. That's not necessarily just you. That's what's everything that you've dealt with that causes you to lash in that way. And so we want you to be our goal, our desire, our heart's plea with God is that those who come on here would find healing, would be able to acknowledge that there is room for growth, that there is room for healing, that there is a way to speak about it and not lose our mind. I am wholeheartedly on journaling. I journal a lot. One thing psychology course taught us was that writing was powerful, because while you're writing, it is forcing you to deal with what's going on in you. The tears may fall. Let it fall on the pages of your writing. Get that release, because it will help you. It sounds simple, but it's a powerful tool. Journaling just how you feel, saying how you feel. I'm telling you, it will work in your behalf. Okay, for some of us who have had violators who have gone on home to be with the Lord, the devil, wherever they are, they're not here. We write a letter. This is what we encourage our couples to do and our young people. Write a letter to that person and explain exactly how it made you feel and how long you felt like that and how long you've been asking God for help. And when you get finished with that letter, seal it in that envelope and go burn it. Yapa said it. Write it and burn it. And allow yourself to be free, completely free of the agony that it causes you every time you think about it, because you went through that so that you could be a minister or a witness to someone else. And so you can't effectively help me through my situation, even though you've been there. If you haven't been freed yourself, you can only take me but so far. Tamara says, nope, Tanasia says. Melissa says she's using her journal now. I'm planning on getting back into therapy. I felt like it was helping, so I stopped for a while. But when I realized that once I stopped, the process of the old began to come back, I felt like I gave up on myself because of that. Always let your therapist be a part of the decision making as to whether you feel like it's okay now. One thing that my therapist asked me now, because I went from having to go several days a week, to now once a week, and then once every other week. But if I need to come in sooner, you have access to call and say, hey, I need you. Therapy is just the best thing. I just really didn't know that it was going to help me the way that it did. Things that I'm telling you, I thought that I was over them because life has gone on, and so we have moved on. But that's just it. All we did was move on. We didn't get over what had happened. And so therapy has done a lot. Again, you'll never hear me say don't talk to your leader, because I pride myself, my bestie prides herself on being a leader with an open door. There's no condemnation. And we're going to tell you what God has to say about it, but we're also willing to walk you through the process. But we still say, when that doesn't help, if that's not the one thing that helped you, and you still feel like you need more, seek that outside help. Go to therapy. Don't go from pastor to pastor to pastor, which, we've experienced that by the time some people got to us, they don't talk to like 4 or 5 other pastors. You don't need that many people. You really don't.
And they all ain't gonna say the same thing.
And that's just it. You're waiting for a specific answer, and you're talking to all these people till they give you the answer you want to hear instead of the answer that you need to hear. And so people around me know, if you don't want to know, don't ask me, because I'm not cutting no corners. Because I desire to help you be made whole, and that means telling the truth, even if it means you might not like me for a few weeks. I'm willing to take that chance because I love you just that much. And so when we're dealing with anxiety and panic attacks, and those of us who have asthma and those who have seizures, when people see you living what they believe is a normal life, it's hard for them to accept or believe that you are as sick as you are. And I'm so over it. I had allowed it at one point to cause me to stop testifying, but I'm not gonna. Then I had to, shake myself, because who are you? God did this for me, and what would I look like not being able to testify of God's goodness and how He has healed and brought us through certain things and saved us from certain dangers. I'm not going to allow you to cost me my blessing. Jesus prophesied, He healed, and there was some that never came back to say thank you. To some, He healed and said, don't just go about your way, say nothing. And then there were others where He was looking for somebody just to testify to the fact that it had been done, and so you have to figure out where you are. But I've been told that I'm too transparent. Oh, well, it works for me. Shock therapy is a real good thing, and it gets better answers and it gets better results overall. She's letting everybody know that I'm gonna tell them the truth if they ask me something. She throwing me under up there. She said something too. Talk about you, Mom. And then, as we were talking tonight, prior to getting on, we was like, oh, well, are we going to continue the conversation or go to something different? And I said to my bestie, I said, after all of, the things that we've gone through and how we tell people to look in the mirror and reintroduce yourself to yourself, flaws and all, love who you are. Because if you don't figure out how to love you, you can't expect anybody else to do it. Because how can you tell somebody what it's going to take to love you if you never took time to find out? Why didn't you take time to find out? Because of guilt, because of shame, not feeling like you're deserving of happiness, but you can't have unspoken expectations and then get mad with somebody about a conversation that only you and you had and not you and them. So you have to be real about what's going on and be ready to accept your part. I tell my children, and my eldest son recently said, I finally understood what my mother meant when she kept saying there's no problem that exists one way, and it just isn't. Either you're a part of the problem, you're the cause of the problem, or you see that there is a problem and choose not to say anything about it and you allow it to go on. You're still a part of the problem that exists. So there's no problem that exists one way. But another thing that came to me as we were talking about the pain and the panic and the anxiety, you still feel invisible. That's something that every now and then I still feel. I still feel invisible. I can be right there in front of it and still feel like I'm not being seen. You hear somebody using the term, oh, they really see me. That's a real thing, because you can be standing in the presence of others, participating in the same conversation. And if you really took time to notice, yours is the only opinion they never address. It's like you never even opened your mouth in the conversation. Why am I even standing here? Because nobody's listening to me. Nobody's taking up on my idea, or someone that's in the circle will hear of my thought and then take it and try to make it their own. And so sometimes you're in a crowded room and you just feel like you're the only one there. There's a lot of things that you go through.
How Hi, Miss Ayers, Pastor Ayers.
Do you see her? Hey, hi, Pastor Ayers. Station identification. This keeps our live broadcast. She is strong. Perhaps you want a butterfly. Perhaps you want a favorite scripture. Perhaps you want your family on there. $25. My bestie made this one for me today, and I have not stopped using it. All right, back to opera. All right, so we love you too. We love you too. And so when we consider stop it, because every week I'll be like, okay, well, you know what? I think my time is up. When God had me to do this, I questioned him then, because I just didn't think that people would want to hear or that people would take time to listen or even participate. And here we are going into
praise the Lord.
Going into our fourth year.
Master Prophet.
Going into our fourth year. And here we are still here. And it's because we really believe in what we're doing. Love you, Master Prophet. Tell my sis I say, hey. When you're living with panic attacks and you're living with anxiety, living with asthma, any type of respiratory illnesses, it's just people don't take it as serious as you do, and so you have to be your best advocate. All right. And so talking about feeling invisible, in learning to love yourself, sometimes it's hard to accept the truth that even the people that you love and are with on a daily basis truly don't value you the way that you value them. Here you are promoting them to others, always having something good to say about them, always referring people to them, and never receive the same in return because they don't think of as much of you as you do of them. You're not that person that comes to mind, even though some of what they're doing comes from what they've gotten from you. And so it leaves you feeling invisible. It leaves you feeling like you add no value. And that's not a safe place to be, nor is it necessary to be when you have the God of all who lets you know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And when you are internalizing a lot of stuff, I'm flipping back and forth because we're trying to cover both things. You find yourself internalizing a lot of the hurt and disappointment and the anguish, and the low self-esteem, and you're internalizing it and you're just killing yourself off slowly. You are messing with your bodily organs. You are messing with what is helping you to remain alive and thrive. And so you want to get to a place where you're willing to admit where you are, can talk about it after you admit it, and then decide what is it that you can do to remove yourself from that situation. Not everybody is there. Not everybody is ready at the same time. Stop beating people up because it only took you 2 months and here they are 6 months to a year and they can't figure it out. That's them. That's not you. Everybody doesn't heal the same. Everybody doesn't go through the same. Everybody doesn't think the same. Again, we'll always say that one person's perception is another person's reality. And so you can't rush somebody to be where you want them to be just because you just desire the good for them. That's all well and good. Thank you for being that concerned, but you can't rush their healing. If you want them to truly be made whole, you need to allow them the time that it takes for them, not make them feel like you're getting tired or frustrated. Maybe that's not your ministry. Maybe you should hand them to somebody who really would take their time and walk them through, because sometimes in coming to your healing, you still have flashbacks. You still see yourself reverting backwards sometime, and you have to be put back on track. And so if you don't have the right person with you, then that person could just throw you to the curb because you're just not moving at the pace that they want you to move in. And so all of these things that you think about and internalize, it also causes these anxiety attacks and these panic attacks. It is how you are expressing where you are at the moment. Things are just driving you crazy. And so for me, um, it took Jesus and it took therapy. And like I said, um, many people will make you feel bad as a born again believer going to seek therapy. That is their opinion; they're entitled to it, and God bless their heart. But our pastors who are in place today, some that are old, some that are new, some that went instead of being sent, and you go to them with these things, and if they can't help you, you need to be able to get help from a licensed person, somebody that can guide you through the process that you're trying to lead, somebody that will hold you accountable for your own healing, and not being satisfied or not allowing you to stay in one place too long. So um, that is our desire. That is our goal. I don't think that's ever going to change. Um, we just love people, and we love to see people healed. We love even more to see people made whole. And it is our desire that something we're saying to you makes enough sense to make you want to do something about it. Um, excuse me, guys. Um, so that's where we were. We picked up from last week, where we've been talking about panic attacks, anxiety attacks, seizures, hyperventilating. We've been talking about those things. We've also been talking about the fact that there are people sitting in our congregations that have real diagnoses, and they can't receive the proper healing. They can go up to prayer all they want, but if they're still not leaving the burden with the altar and with Jesus, they come right back to what they're dealing with. And we have to ask God to bring the discernment back into the church, where we wouldn't be comfortable or feel good about praising God most of the service and sit next to somebody who hardly ever moved, instead of thinking that they're being contrary or just being difficult. How about they might be going through something and they just want somebody to see them? Not everybody who's sitting down is because they just don't feel like getting up. Some of them want to get up and don't feel like they have the right to get up. Some of them want to get up and they don't know what to do once they get up. Um, the church has gotten a bad name for itself with making people feel worse than they are, or making people feel like what they are dealing with is not as serious as they would believe. And so we have to get back to the place where we return to the stages of the hospital, where we can have that emergency room and we have people come in and we triage them. And what works for one is not going to work for the next. And although the one who came in first might feel like they are, in the most need, that person who came in last might be on their last breath. And therefore, that is who is going to be taken care of first, even in a hospital setting. If you were to go right now, I don't care who came in after you, if their situation is deemed worse than yours, then they're going to be called on before you. And so we need to get to that place in the church where we're not calling people the pastor's favorites just because, they're able to be used. Maybe you can't be used because you're too busy complaining all the time. You never see anything positive about what's going on. I know I need to express how I feel. I tend to hold a lot in. You ask how I'm doing, and I say okay. I've always been that way, and that used to be me. Honest to God, that used to be me. Every time somebody say, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm good. It's well. All is well. I used to say all is well so much, till when I did testify. This one occasion of everything that I was dealing with and what the doctors have told me, they was like, but she kept saying all is well. People think you can't read their thoughts. I keep telling them, when the prophetic is in the atmosphere, you might want to control how you think. Um, And, here we go again with that testimony. Yeah, grateful as all out back that God saw fit to bring me back to life. Holding it in because you feel like people get tired of you saying something is not hurting them, it's hurting you. You have to get to the place where you identify with where you are so that you can speak well to the Father when you're talking to him, and so that you can expect an answer. So that this is what we want you to get accustomed to doing. Don't let people determine when you need to go before God or how you need to go before God, unless they're telling you that you need to be in a broken and contrite spirit, or if they're telling you that you need to come expecting God to do exactly what you are asking of him. The Bible says that we are to ask in prayer and faith believing. So why ask a God to do anything for you that you don't believe he will do? And so we have to get to that place. So yeah, telling in today's society, saying that all is well, makes people feel like there's nothing wrong with you, when in all essence, you just screaming and just wondering why nobody hears that scream that's in you. And so we want to get to that place where we can relieve ourselves of these panic attacks, where we can relieve ourselves of these anxiety attacks. I know the Bible says be anxious for nothing, but the truth of the matter is people do deal with anxiety. And so when they come to us in that way, we have to know how to help them. Not make them feel bad for being where they are because they're supposed to be saved, or because they're supposed to be a prophet, or because they're supposed to be an apostle. We have to deal with things in a proper perspective. You got 5 children, you're not going to deal with all 5 of them the same way. You're going to deal with each one of them according to their personalities. Likewise, in the church, why are they always with that person? Maybe that person needs more attention than you do. Maybe because of your strength, they feel like they don't need to always have to be up under you or be over you, hovering over you, because they know your capabilities. And so they don't have a need to do that. But there are some church members that just really need somebody on them for every single thing. Does it get frustrating sometimes? Yes, but the fact of the matter is they need you, and that's all that matters. At least for me, for us, you know. We tell people all the time, let us say we tired. Let us say, we can't do this no more, or that's just too much because of what I'm going through. God made us leaders for a reason, pastors after his own heart, which means that we're able to bear our cross and yours too. And when it gets too heavy for us, we go to him. So give us that opportunity. So I hope we said something tonight. This is a good moment for me, much sooner than later. My story will be different as we take it down for the evening, but God keeps on allowing us to be here for this, and we don't take that lightly. Melissa, what do you mean? Sing tonight? I just saw that. Melissa, I love you, girl. But yeah, no. I'm not able to do it tonight, Melissa. Otherwise I would. I never, because you never know what people need. Um, you never know what people need, but tonight is not a good night for me to do that. Trust me. But thank you. So we want to, as we prepare to leave for the evening, I don't know if my bestie has more that she wants to say to you before we say our final good night to you. We love you so much. Thank you, as always, to all of the fivefold ministry that come on tonight to let us know that we're here. We see that you're on. We can't stay on, but we know that you're there, and we support you, and we're here for you. So thank you to all of God's people for meeting us here, conversating with us, sharing with us. That means that you have confidence in us. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And keep on following our pages. There's a lot of things happening in our ministries in the next few weeks, starting this Friday. So look on our page, follow the flyers, meet us there, join us there as we worship together and allow God to love on us as only He can.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Sorry, I could barely see.
What are you looking for?
Oh, nothing. Thank you for joining us tonight. Be encouraged. Keep your head up. Support us. Buy a cup. Stanley's got them, but ours is better. Buy a cup, $25. Um, just keep one another in prayer as we continue to strive and to teach people that it is okay that we're going through, but get help while you're going through. And as my t-shirt says, don't die while you wait. Be encouraged. Hang in there. We love you. And that is all for tonight. Have a good night, all.
See you next
See you next
week.
week.